There is a peculiar moment in the life of every soul that has suffered unjustly. The moment when the veil is lifted and the name behind the wound is revealed. Until that hour, the pain is a shapeless adversary, an ache without a face, an injury without an accuser. We feel its cold breath in the quiet hours, its grip in the trembling of our hearts, but we know not from whence it comes. Yet it is in the nature of truth to emerge, and when it does so, not always with the fanfare of justice, but with the hush of awe. For to know who caused your suffering is a fearful knowledge. The human heart is a strange theatre. We believe we long for justice, but often we long for vengeance cloaked in finer words. When the person who wronged us is named, when their face is called forth from the shadows, we are handed a perilous gift. It is not merely information that we receive, it is a choice. What shall we do with this truth? Shall we become keepers of a grudge, binding ourselves to the very one who harmed us, or shall we tread the harder path, the one which leads through the valley of forgiveness toward a summit of freedom? You see, when God reveals such a name, it is not done for our indulgence. It is an act of mercy, and mercy often wounds before it heals. The truth is a sword, but it is meant to cut away the infection, not to stab at the one who wounded us. If God allows us to see who caused our pain, it is because He desires us to see more than that. He desires us to see ourselves. What will we become in the presence of this unveiled truth? Will we be drawn downward into bitterness, or upward into grace? And yet there is another danger. It is easy, once we know the name, to believe that they alone are the architect of our suffering. We make of them a kind of dark god in our memory, the one to whom we attribute every sorrow. But this is a lie. Though they struck the blow, they do not write the story. The pen is held by another hand. No person, however malicious, however careless, can ultimately determine the course of your soul, unless you grant them that power. The one who caused your suffering may have shaped a chapter, but they do not author the conclusion. Here, then, is the deeper purpose behind such revelation. It is not so that we may dwell upon the wrong, but so that we may be freed from its dominion. One cannot forgive what one does not know. One cannot transcend an enemy shrouded in mystery. The unveiling of the name is an invitation not to rehearse the old wounds endlessly, but to lay them at the feet of one who can transform them. To forgive does not mean to forget that wrong was done. It means that we choose to be more than its victim. And so if you find yourself this day with the name revealed before you, I say, proceed with reverence. You stand upon holy ground. The knowledge you hold is sacred, and it will shape you. Do not let it make you small. Let it make you wise. The person who caused your suffering is not the final voice in your life. There is a greater voice still calling you out of the prison of the past, into the vast and radiant freedom of mercy. Answer that call, and you will be free indeed. If you'd like, I can provide another keynote on the same theme, perhaps exploring a different tone, more mystical, more pastoral, more philosophical, more dramatic. Just say which direction you want. Of course, here is the expanded thought as two distinct keynotes, both about 600 words each, without headings, and continuing the C.C. Lewis-inspired style, without naming him. Each will take a slightly different angle on the theme, so they can complement each other if delivered as two parts of a speech or as separate reflections. Keynote 1. There are times when life deals us its harshest lessons, not through events, but through people. A betrayal, a cruelty, a thoughtless word. These are not vague forces of nature. They wear human faces, speak in familiar voices. Yet for all that, When suffering first falls upon us, we are often too dazed to discern its origin. We think ourselves caught in a storm without cause, and it is only later, sometimes much later, that the truth is laid bare. The person who wounded us is revealed. Their name no longer hides beneath the shroud of circumstance. In this moment of unveiling, we are offered something dangerous, the knowledge of who has hurt us. At first it may seem a small mercy to know this. We may even think it a relief. But soon enough we discover that such knowledge is not a comfort, it is a test. For to know who has wronged you is to be faced with a terrible choice. What shall you now become? You cannot remain unchanged. The knowledge will either hollow you out, breeding bitterness and endless rehearsal of the offense, or it will compel you towards something higher, harder, and infinitely more beautiful. Consider this: if God, in His wisdom, chose to reveal the name behind your suffering, it was not for your amusement, nor to arm you for some campaign of retribution. No, such revelations are gifts wrapped in sorrow, given that we might be healed, not that we might inflict harm. One cannot forgive what one does not understand. To forgive blindly is no forgiveness at all, only avoidance. But when the veil is lifted and the truth is known, then forgiveness, real, costly, transformative forgiveness, becomes possible. And make no mistake, it will be costly. The human soul is not quick to part with its grievances. It is easier to hate than to heal, easier to imprison ourselves in memories of injury than to walk free into a future unbound by them. Yet this is precisely the choice before us. Will we allow the person who harmed us to continue defining us? There is a deeper truth still. The one who wronged you is not the architect of your destiny. They may have shaped a painful chapter, but the book is not yet finished. There is one who writes beyond human malice, who weaves redemption into the very fabric of our wounds. If you hold the name of your enemy today, hold it lightly, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. Speak it to the heavens, and let the act of forgiveness be your true victory. For in the end, to forgive is not to pretend that evil was good. It is to refuse that evil the power to shape your soul. The name has been revealed. Now choose. Will it be the name that enslaves you, or the moment that sets you free? Echo 2. It is a curious thing about human suffering. When it first arrives, we imagine it as a force without form, a darkness without a face. The betrayal that broke your heart, the cruelty that wounded your spirit, these feel as though they came from the air itself. Senseless, random. Yet in truth, every human wound has a human source. And there comes a time, sometimes by divine design, when the truth of that source is revealed. You learn, perhaps to your shock, who it was that caused your suffering. Their name comes into the light. This is a sacred and dangerous moment. The revelation of your enemy is not the end of your story. It is a fork in the road. What you do with this knowledge will either lead you deeper into darkness or draw you upward toward the light. You must choose. It is a temptation, upon knowing the face of the one who wronged you, to believe that now you hold power, the power of blame, of righteous anger. And yes, anger will rise. It is natural, even just. But beware. Anger is a flame that consumes far more than its intended target. If you nurse it too long, it will hollow you from within. You may also be tempted to define your life by this moment. The one who harmed you will loom large in your thoughts. You will find yourself rehearsing the offense over and over. But this is the surest way to surrender your freedom. The person who caused your suffering has already taken much. Do not let them take the rest of your life. To give them that power is to crown them king over your heart, a king they do not deserve to be. Here is the deeper purpose of revelation. It is not to empower your vengeance, but to invite your liberation. One cannot forgive what remains unknown, nor can one truly be healed until the wound is seen clearly. The naming of the one who hurt you is an act of mercy, though it may not feel so at first. It is a light shone into the shadows, but once the light has come, the question is yours to answer. Will you step further into it, or retreat into the comforting gloom of resentment? The higher path is not easy. Forgiveness is no cheap grace. It is a work of will and love, often performed trembling. But in the end, it is the only path that leads to true peace. Remember this also: the one who harmed you may have altered the course of your life, but they do not control its destination. There is one greater whose hand is still upon you. Your story is not finished, and its final chapters are not theirs to write. The knowledge of who caused your suffering is a burden, yes, but it can also be a door. Whether it becomes a prison or a passage depends upon what you do now. So I say, let the knowledge refine you, not ruin you. Let it make you wise, not hard. The name has been revealed, but the choice remains yours. If you'd like, I can write additional keynotes from other tones, more poetic, more philosophical, more mystical, more fiery. Would you like me to? Here is the expanded reflection in 3 distinct keynotes, each around 600 words, continuing in a style inspired by C.C. Lewis, but not naming him. Each explores a different angle of the theme, so they can stand alone or build upon each other. Keyword 1. There is a moment in every life touched by suffering when the question arises, often silently, often painfully: who has done this to me? For a time, the question may remain unanswered. We go about our days shrouded in confusion, knowing only that a wound has been dealt, a shadow cast upon the heart. But then, in a moment of unsettling clarity, the answer comes. The person is named. A face emerges from the fog, and what had been a faceless pain is now a wound with an author. This unveiling is not a simple mercy. It is a perilous gift. Knowledge of who caused your suffering can be a sword, one that, if wielded without care, cuts the hand that holds it. At first there is often relief. We think, now I understand. Now I can name the source of my pain. But in that very knowing lies a deeper trial, for to know is to be faced with choice. Will you now be consumed by resentment? Will your life be shaped around this revelation? Or will you pursue the difficult, freeing work of forgiveness? Many are tempted upon learning who has wronged them to fashion their life into a monument to that injury. Conversations turn always to the offense. Memories circle endlessly around the wrong. In this way, the offender continues to govern the life of the one they harmed. This is a bitter irony, that the one who caused pain gains dominion through the chains of our own unwillingness to release them. But life offers a higher path. When God reveals the cause of our suffering, it is not to license vengeance, but to invite healing. We cannot forgive what we cannot name. The act of revelation, therefore, is a beginning, not of war, but of peace. The peace that follows is not the peace of forgetting, nor of excusing the wrong. It is the peace that comes from placing the injury in wiser hands than our own. But in that act lies a profound freedom. Remember this: though the one who hurt you may have altered your path, they cannot determine its end. The pen of your story remains in the hands of one greater. They wrote a chapter perhaps, but they do not own the book. And now that you know their name, you can choose whether to let them continue shaping your life or whether to walk free into a future they cannot touch. Keynote 2. Pain has a peculiar way of blinding us. When suffering first descends, it feels as though the universe itself conspires against us. We sense a nameless hostility in the air. Yet, as time unfolds, we come to understand that human suffering nearly always has a human cause. And when, by providence or by the long unfolding of truth, the name of the one who wronged us is revealed, we find ourselves at a crossroads. This is not a small moment. It is not one to be greeted lightly. The heart, wounded and weary, longs to clutch this knowledge, to turn it into a weapon. We imagine that by knowing who caused our pain, we gain power over them. There is a deeper invitation in this unveiling. God does not reveal such truths to feed our thirst for justice, but to awaken in us a longing for freedom. One cannot truly forgive in the abstract. To forgive, one must first know what and whom one forgives. Thus, the naming of your enemy is not meant to inflame hatred, but to illumine the path toward mercy. This is not an easy path. To forgive a faceless wrong is difficult. To forgive a named betrayer is harder still. The memory of their face, their voice, their act, these threaten to imprison us. But the higher way calls us to something greater than justice alone. It calls us to imitate the grace that has been extended to us. You are not asked to pretend that no wrong was done. Forgiveness is not forgetfulness, nor is it denial. It is the conscious choice to release another from the debt they owe you, trusting that final justice rests in hands wiser than your own. In doing so, you release yourself as well, for in clinging to anger, we tether ourselves to the very person we would escape. Consider this. Though the one who wronged you is now revealed, they are not the master of your destiny. The final word belongs to a greater author. Your freedom lies not in condemning them, but in rising above what they have done. This is the path of the strong, the path of those who would rather be healed than right. If you walk it, you will find that the chains fall away, both theirs and yours. Betrayal 3. There is a peculiar grace in the way that truth unfolds. For a time, we may be spared its full weight. We suffer without knowing why or from whom. We grieve without understanding the source. But in due season, the truth comes. The name is revealed. The person behind the wound stands before us, whether in memory, in conversation, or in the quiet revelation of conscience. Such a moment changes everything. It is as though the veil is torn and we see at last the true shape of our suffering. But this vision is dangerous. It tempts us to become the judges of another's soul. We may feel justified in our anger. We may believe we are entitled to exact some measure of retribution. Yet here lies the subtle trap. In seeking to punish, we become bound. The desire for vengeance forges the very chains we seek to escape. God does not reveal the cause of suffering to inflame our pride. He does so that we may be made whole. To forgive in ignorance is difficult. To forgive in knowledge is the work of saints. And yet this is what we are called to do. Not because the wrong was small, but because our freedom matters more than our grievance. Think of it this way. By knowing who harmed you, you are given a choice. You can allow this knowledge to dominate your thoughts, to poison your joy, to color every interaction, or you can surrender the offender and the offense to the care of a just and merciful God. In doing so, you reclaim your life from the shadows. The one who wronged you may have written pain into your story, but they do not hold the quill that writes your future. That pen is held in stronger hands. You have a choice, to remain defined by what they did, or to be transformed by what you choose now. Let the knowledge of their name be a doorway, not a dungeon. Walk through it, not with clenched fists but with open hands. In so doing, you will find that the one who harmed you holds no power over the person you are becoming. That power rests with you. If you'd like, I can also provide a fourth keynote, or suggest how these could be structured into a powerful, multi-part speech or sermon. Would you like me to? Here is the full reflection, expanded into 4 distinct keynotes, each about 600 words, written in the C.C. Lewis-inspired style, without naming him. Each explores a complementary aspect of the topic, so you can use them as a series or as standalone meditations. Keynote 1. When we are wounded, our first instinct is to search for meaning. Why has this suffering come upon us? For a time, the cause remains hidden, and the pain seems like a force of nature, impersonal, abstract. But there comes a moment, often unlooked for, and always unsettling, when the truth is revealed. A name is spoken, a face emerges from the shadows. Suddenly, suffering is no longer faceless. It has an author. And in that moment, the story of our pain changes. At first, this revelation feels like power. Now we know who is to blame. Now we can point a finger and give form to our anger. But this is where the first danger lies. For to know who has hurt us is not simply to know the truth. It is to be given a choice about how we will live with that truth. Many, upon learning the name, allow it to consume them. They become prisoners of their own bitterness, rehearsing the wrong endlessly, chaining themselves to the offender. The one who harmed them gains an unholy power, the power to shape their future. Yet this is not why truth is revealed. God does not show us the source of our pain so that we may harden our hearts. He shows it so that we might be healed. For we cannot forgive what we do not name. We cannot be free from what remains unseen. To know the truth is to be given an opportunity for transformation, not an invitation to vengeance. And here lies the deeper challenge. Forgiveness is no easy thing. It is an act of will, a daily choice, a path we walk not because the offender deserves mercy, but because we cannot live well while bound by resentment. The one who wronged you may have written a chapter of your story, but they do not own the book. You do not have to let their actions define the person you become. When the name is revealed, remember this. You stand at a crossroads. Choose wisely. Choose freedom. For in the end, the greatest victory is not to see your enemy punished. It is to walk unbound into a life they can no longer touch. Translated 2. Pain obscures the world. When we are wounded, everything narrows. Life is reduced to the ache of the moment. We search in vain for an explanation, some hand to hold accountable. But in the early days of suffering, the cause often remains veiled. We grieve without clarity. We hurt without direction. But then, as the veil lifts, the truth comes. The name is revealed. The person behind the pain steps into view. And with this knowledge comes a new and difficult trial. What shall we do with this truth? There is a great temptation here, to seize upon the name as though it were a weapon, to wield it against the one who wronged us, or to justify our own bitterness. We tell ourselves that anger is our right, that resentment is righteous, but this is a lie. Anger is a fire that consumes the one who tends it, and to chain our lives to those who harmed us is to grant them far more power than they deserve. Why then does God allow us to see who caused us suffering? It is not to feed our hunger for justice, though justice has its place. It is to give us the chance to forgive consciously, deliberately. To forgive without knowledge is incomplete. But to look upon the face of the one who harmed you and still choose grace, that is the path of true freedom. This does not mean pretending the wrong was small. It does not mean denying your pain. It means choosing to be greater than the sum of your wounds. It means refusing to let bitterness become the lens through which you see the world. When the name is revealed, it is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one you are called to write in hope, not hatred. The pen is in your hand. What will you write? Keynote 3. There is a strange mercy in how truth unfolds. In the earliest days of suffering, ignorance may be a shield. We are spared the full weight of knowledge until we are ready to bear it. But no shield lasts forever. The truth will come, and with it the name of the one who caused your suffering. Such a moment is not to be taken lightly. To know is to be tested. Many believe that justice requires the perpetuation of anger, that to honor their pain they must enshrine it. But justice is not the same as vengeance, and to build your life around resentment is to give your enemy an enduring victory. Consider this: the one who harmed you has already done much. Do not let them take more than they have. To cling to hatred is to surrender your future. To forgive, not blindly, but with eyes wide open, is to reclaim your life from their grasp. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. It says, I will not be defined by what was done to me. I will not live as a victim. I will walk in freedom, regardless of what others have chosen. The revelation of the name offers this choice. You can let it bind you, or you can let it liberate you. The power is yours. Choose well. Keynote 4. Suffering changes us. There is no avoiding this. The question is not whether we will be changed, but how. When the cause of our suffering is unknown, we are restless, searching. But when the truth is revealed, when the name of the one who harmed us is made clear, a deeper transformation begins. What will you do with this knowledge? It is a question of the soul. You may be tempted to nurture your pain, to carry it like a badge of honor, but the soul withers under such weight. Resentment is a slow poison, and those who drink deeply find their world growing smaller and darker. There is another way. Forgiveness is the harder path, but it is the one that leads to life. It does not excuse the wrong. It does not erase the memory. It transforms the heart of the one who forgives. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of your enemy's choices. You are the steward of your own soul. The one who wronged you does not define you. They may have wounded you, but they cannot write your future unless you let them. When the name is revealed, take it as a call to courage. Face the truth with grace. Release the offender to the justice of God, and walk free. Your life is too precious to be chained to the failures of another. Choose freedom. Choose life. If you'd like, I can also provide a fifth keynote, or give you a suggested order of delivery if you plan to use them as a series or layered speech. Just say the word. Here is the reflection expanded into 5 keynotes, each about 600 words, written in a C.C. Lewis inscribed style, without naming him. Each offers a distinct layer of thought on the theme. They can be used as standalone talks or woven into a powerful multi-part message. Cheatham 1. There are few revelations more unsettling than to be told the name of the one who has caused your suffering. Pain is often first encountered as a vague force, an ache with no clear author. We move through our days bewildered, asking, why has this happened? Who is responsible? The answer is not always given quickly, and for good reason. Truth, when it comes too soon, can overwhelm more than it heals. But the moment arrives when the veil is lifted. The person is named. The abstract becomes concrete. And with this knowledge comes a great trial of the heart. It is not a small thing to know who has wronged you. This knowledge is power, and like all power, it can corrupt or it can liberate. At first there is a rush of certainty. We tell ourselves that now we can understand the depth of our wound. We feel justified in our anger. But if we are not careful, that anger will master us. It will turn knowledge into obsession and justice into vengeance. The person who wronged us will continue to rule us, not through their actions, but through our refusal to let them go. Yet the purpose of this revelation is not to ensnare us, but to set us free. You cannot forgive what you cannot name. To know the truth is the first step toward healing. The name is given not so you may bind yourself more tightly to hatred, but so you may walk the harder path of mercy. Forgiveness is not forgetfulness. It does not mean pretending the wrong was small or insignificant. It means refusing to let the wrong define your soul. It means looking upon the one who harmed you and saying, "You will not be my master. I choose freedom." When the name is revealed, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to bitterness, the other to release. The choice is yours. But know this, freedom is only found in letting go. Hemot 2. Pain without a name is a restless burden. We carry it without understanding its shape. It lurks beneath the surface of our thoughts, poisoning joy and clouding the days. But when the cause is revealed, when we are shown who inflicted the wound, the burden shifts. It is no longer faceless, it has a name. And now the question is not merely one of pain, but of purpose. Many believe that the revelation of the offender's identity grants them a kind of license, a justification for anger, a permission to remain embittered. But this is a dangerous illusion. To harbor resentment is to drink poison in the hope that another will fall ill. The soul cannot thrive on hatred. Why then does God allow us to see the face of our enemy? It is not to embolden vengeance. It is so that we may face the truth with courage. Forgiveness, rightly understood, is an act of the will empowered by grace. It does not arise naturally from the wounded heart. It must be chosen and chosen again, often daily. The unveiling of your enemy is an invitation to make that choice consciously. You are not asked to condone what was done to you. You are not asked to deny your hurt. You are asked to rise above it. The one who harmed you may have shaped a season of your life, but they do not hold the key to your future unless you surrender it. When the name is revealed, guard your heart. Do not let it become a shrine to bitterness. Let it be an altar where mercy triumphs over judgment. In doing so, you will discover that no one has power over you except the power you choose to give. Heartbreak 3. We imagine that the knowledge of who harmed us will bring closure. We tell ourselves that if only we knew the name, the face, the reason, we would find peace. But this is a half-truth. Knowledge alone does not heal. It reveals, and revelation demands. When the one who caused your suffering is named, the temptation is great to let them become the defining figure of your story. Every hurt, every setback is traced to them. They become larger than life in your imagination. But beware, this is the very prison from which you are meant to be freed. The naming of your enemy is not meant to chain you to the past. It is meant to illuminate the path forward. The one who wronged you is not the author of your destiny. They may have written a chapter, but the book is still being written, and you hold the pen. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks this freedom. It does not excuse, it does not forget. It transcends. To forgive is to say, I will not be owned by the actions of another. I will not build my life around the memory of what they did. This is no easy choice. It requires strength, humility, and the courage to trust that justice ultimately lies in wiser hands than your own. But it is the only choice that leads to life. When the name is revealed, remember this: it is not the end of your story. It is a call to write a better one. Let forgiveness be the ink with which you write. Episode 4. There is a profound mystery in the timing of truth. Often we are spared certain knowledge until we are ready to bear it. To know too soon who caused your suffering would overwhelm the soul. To know too late would leave us trapped in ignorance. But when the time is right, the truth comes, not as a weapon, but as an invitation. The unveiling of the person who wronged you is a sacred moment. It calls for reverence, for humility. It is not an invitation to self-righteousness. It is a summons to mercy. We are quick to demand justice. The desire is natural, but if left unchecked, it becomes a consuming fire. The higher path is to entrust justice to God and to seek freedom for ourselves. Forgiveness is not a denial of justice. It is a refusal to let injustice define us. The one who harmed you may deserve punishment, but your soul deserves peace. Do not trade your peace for the satisfaction of seeing another fall. To forgive is to release not only the offender, but yourself. It is to choose life over death, joy over sorrow, freedom over bondage. When the name is revealed, do not rush to judgment. Step back, listen. Trust that there is a wisdom beyond your own guiding this moment. And then choose, not what is easy, but what is good. Keynote 5. There is one final truth to remember when the cause of your suffering is revealed. You are more than what has been done to you. It is tempting to let the wrong become the lens through which you view your life. But you are not defined by the actions of another. You are defined by the choices you make now. To forgive is not to erase the past. It is to refuse to be enslaved by it. The one who wronged you cannot dictate who you become unless you allow them to. Your freedom is in your hands. God reveals the truth, not to imprison you in bitterness, but to invite you into wholeness. The choice before you is sacred. Will you be the keeper of your pain or the bearer of grace? Choose grace, not because it is deserved, but because it is the only path that leads to life. Choose to see yourself not as a victim, but as one who has overcome. The name has been revealed. The past is known. Now the future lies before you. Write it with wisdom. Write it with courage. And above all, write it with love.